Hello everyone, welcome to the Alpha Hustle. Here is a weekly analysis of Nifty and Bank Nifty on how market auctioned last week with important references and potential scenarios that may likely to play out in the indices next week. So let's quickly get started.
All right, so let's start with the review of Nifty. What we are having here is a fantastic bull run led by the strong buyers with conviction. Ever since the market stopped the one time framing to the downside and started the one time framing to the upside during the month of May, we are having a strong continuation to the upside with buyers comfortably trading above Feb highs. What we had this week was a close into the all time highs and a continuation to last month's rally. So the trend on the longer term time frame is to the upside. Even on the weekly charts, we have a similar story. We had a failed auction followed by a 2 week balance from which the buyers got a breakout to the upside that started the one time framing to the upside, taking out the balance highs. We have 5 straight weeks of one time framing to the upside and a strong bullish momentum getting a close into the all time highs. So even on the intermediate term time frames, the trend is to the upside. The volumes are a bit of a concern though. However, as we discussed last week, this could primarily be due to the new margin rules that are in place by SEBI. We may at least take a couple of weeks to understand what the average volumes are likely to be going forward. So on the daily charts, we had a fantastic rally followed by a consolidation that we've been having over the last few days. So for the last week, we could probably say that we are kind of in a balance on Wednesday where we had a big liquidation break to the downside. So this could probably be an inventory adjustment of week longs, as we have seen that the responsive buyers stepped in around 15600 levels to push the markets higher into fresh all-time highs. So an interesting nuance is basically we have got a small excess at the lows as well as a small excess on the top that we had on Friday. So the auction into this zone of 15815 to 15850 is kind of bringing in some responsive selling where the buyers seem to be clearly getting exhausted. That resulted in an inventory adjustment of week longs. In the auction on Friday, this is primarily a doji candlestick pattern, which in market profile terms can be called as a balance. So it'll be interesting week ahead to understand whether we get a follow through to Friday's high or heading back into the balance. So one of the interesting nuances that we have around the kind of momentum that we are having right now, it is indeed a strong rally that we had. However, we are seeing a bit of an exhaustion in this zone. Despite market making a new high on Friday, the RSI as well as MFI failed to make a new high. So this suggests that we could see some clear exhaustion and responsive selling coming into the market. This absolutely doesn't mean that we'll have to short the market here and the market is going to go down some 1,000 points. But essentially what I'm trying to say here is that the risk of being long has kind of increased. So it's better to kind of wait for a small pullback if you buy into that dip to have a fresh leg of rally to the upside. So on the volume profile, I would look at two important references or the zones. One being 15700, which is a HVN where the maximum amount of the trading or the volume has been created. We currently have a doji or a balance above this HVN. It is interesting to see whether the buyers near this HVN at 15700 are going to defend any of the dips and then kick off a fresh leg of rally. In case if the buyers turn out to be weak or getting exhausted around 15800 and we continue to balance within this HVN, we may likely to have a spike down or probably have a pullback towards 15500, which is likely to act as a support. And we have another reference to the downside where there was a gap that was left at 15400 that has never been revisited. In case if the market sustains below 15700, we may have higher odds to revisit the support that we have at 15500. In case if that gets taken out, we are heading for a retest of the gap, which also happens to be the prior all-time high zone that has never been fully retested for the strength of the buyers. As we look at the daily charts, we could probably call this as a balance where the market kind of chopped around. This week started off with the one-time framing to the upside, getting a continuation to the prior week's high. However, buyers kind of struggled near 15800 on Monday as well as Tuesday as well as Wednesday. So despite getting a higher open on all these 3 subsequent days, they failed to take out 15800. So 15800 will be an important reference to watch out for. So the buyers getting exhausted resulted in an inventory adjustment of week longs on Wednesday towards the base of the spike that we had on the 2nd of June, where the responsive buyers stepped in to push the markets back above 15,700. So this zone of 15,600 to 15,650 is likely to act as a demand zone, whereas 15,800 and 15,850 is likely to act as a supply zone. So what we had on Friday was a clean balance of both buyers and sellers. So this essentially means that buyers are matching with the sellers. So it'll be an interesting week ahead. In case if we get a follow through to Friday's high, we are likely to head higher towards the next psychological reference of 16,000. In case if the buyers fail to hold 15,800, we are likely to head for the retest of the Friday's lows, which is a mechanical reference and a weak low that coincides with the closing price on the 10th of June. So this suggests that we have some weak buyers here. In case if 15,800 gets taken out, we're likely to revisit these buyers, below which we're likely to head for the retest of the demand around 15,600 and 15,650. So it is a strong bull market, and the context remains the same, that we should be buying into the dips towards these important demand references. All right, so now let's move on to the Bank Nifty. So unlike Nifty, Bank Nifty is kind of weak and not completely out of the woods. Though Nifty has made its all-time highs, Bank Nifty is kind of clearly struggling near the selling tails that we had during the months of Feb and March. So 36,000, which is an important reference, which we'll look at when we go through the volume profile charts. So the buyers clearly seem to be struggling near this 36,000 levels. The one time framing to the upside still is intact, and the trend on the longer term time frames is to the upside. So on the weekly charts, after 4 weeks of one time framing to the upside, it has been stopped during this week, where the lows of the prior week has been taken out. Is this just an inventory adjustment of week longs, or is this a start of the one time framing to the downside, is to be seen. However, this level of 36,000 is going to be a key reference for next week, in case if the buyers could emerge strong, take out this 36,000 levels. We are heading towards the balance highs at 37,000 levels. There is clearly a disconnect between how Nifty is trading and where Bank Nifty is. So it'll be an interesting week ahead to see if Nifty is going to bring Bank Nifty up, or if Bank Nifty is going to pull Nifty down. So on the daily charts, we have a 15-day balance between 34,500 and 36,000 levels, a 1,500 point balance that we've been trading over the last couple of weeks. The idea is to stay in the direction in which the balance gets resolved. In case if the buyers emerge strong next week and take out 36,000, we are likely to start an imbalance move to the upside, essentially towards 36,500 and 37,000 levels. In case if the weakness continue towards the retest of the balance lows at 34,500 levels, in case if there is acceptance below 34,500, we're likely to head for the retest of these swings at 33,500. And prices staying within this balance, we are likely to have this choppy price action within this 1,500 point range. So 36,000 levels is a very strong HVN with some presence of some strong sellers that we had during the months of Feb and March that led the down move. So the expected scenario is for these sellers to appear, which they eventually did, and a kind of halting the move that we are having on Bank Nifty, and all rallies towards 36,000 levels are getting sold into. On the downside, there is a small HVN that we have at 34,500, which is likely to act as a demand. In case if this zone gets taken out, we're looking at the retest of the demand around 33,500 levels. So nothing new in the market profile charts. We're kind of having a balance here where the prices are just chopping around and is all over the place. This week started off with formation of an inside day, from which we got a breakdown on Tuesday towards the low end of the higher balance. On the subsequent day, we had a flat opening where the markets rallied to retest the sellers near this HVN, and the buyers kind of struggled. That led the liquidation of the week longs back into the prior balance. So sellers are kind of failing to get a follow through on every dip. As you can see, we had a swing low has not been taken out by the buyers on the 10th of June that led the rally to the upside. The buyers had got a good opening on Friday. However, no follow through from the HVN, where the sellers led the liquidation break to the downside that pushed the markets back into prior day's range. So Bank Nifty is clearly weak. The buyers getting exhausted near 35,500 and 35,600. In case if the buyers next week gonna retest this zone and start to find acceptance, we may likely to have a spike towards the next important reference of 36,000. So the bigger move is possible only if 36,000 gets taken out to the upside. So the differences to the downside, in case if the market opens flat to Friday's closing, or if the market starts to find acceptance back below the 35,000 levels, we are likely to head towards the retest of the bigger balance low at 34,450. So we're kind of forming a lot of balances here, like a mini balance within a broader balance. So you could probably take this as a small balance for the week. Balance rules do apply for the subsequent week. So in case if the market continues to stay within this balance of 34,700 and 35,600, we are likely to continue with a choppy price action. In case if the buyers are strong enough to retest the highs at 35,550 to 35,600 and find acceptance, we may head higher towards 36,000 levels. In case if the buyers are weak and the sellers continue to take the control of the auction and start one time framing to the downside, we are looking at the retest of the balance lows at 34,750, below which we are likely to head towards 34,450. That's all for today. I hope this information has been helpful. If you find this content useful, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.